video, and then we can give any instructions.
Hey, Rich, I like the beard. Last picture I saw of you online, you didn't have the beard.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
How long have you had the
Yeah.
beard?
I grow it and shave it. I grow it and shave it. I haven't cut it or trimmed it in a while. I usually wait, when I have a video shoot, I have a video shoot coming up in about 3 weeks. And when I do that, I go and I have my hair cut and styled and the beard trimmed and the lines and everything made all perfect for the video shoots, but I don't maintain it in between. So it's been a while, but I've had it for, I guess, about 4 or 5 years now.
Well, I'm sorry we didn't send our glam squad to you.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, you look great. Thank you for
Thank you.
doing this. I'm really looking forward to it. And I think, I don't know if you know our audience at all, Rich, but we have, over the years now, about 8 years, something like that, we have had on hundreds of, like a lot of indie artists and big names, a lot of the names that it looks like you've worked with, like Jeff Skunk Baxter is a friend of the show.
Yes, I knew Jeff back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, great guitarist.
Oh,
I don't think
incredible.
Jeff's in. I don't know it. I mean, Jeff's still a musician, but I don't think he works in music much anymore, does he?
You know, he's got his first, I think it's his first solo album. It's coming out
Oh, okay.
now, right?
Great.
Like within the next month or so. So yeah,
That's fantastic.
he's
Yeah, he was always a
released
brilliant guitarist.
really
Brilliant
great guy.
musician.
Loves veterans, and we did a nice show for Veterans Day, and we've got a PSA on the commercials that he recorded for us for the veterans.
Right.
But I think this show is going to be maybe one of the most listened to, I would imagine, for all the indie artists that have slowly found the show. We feature so many indie artists and then big names and music professionals like yourself and Roxy and Mike Gormley and all, on and on. I think today's show will really be listened to because I have a feeling you're going to give really great information for up and coming artists out there.
Well, I certainly hope so. It's a new world. It's a
Yeah, for
totally
sure.
new
That's
world.
one of my
as I'm
questions
sure,
for you.
yeah, as I'm sure you've been discussing with the names you've mentioned. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a new world.
It's a whole new world. Yeah,
Dr. D's our comedy relief here.
I hope it's good information, because if it isn't, then when we're done, I'm just going to delete everything. I just
Absolutely.
can't handle not good information.
Well, Richard, are you ready? I don't want to.
I
am.
sure am. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Well, I was
we
talking to
got- we
Richard, the
got-
sound engineer. I forget you guys are both
I thought you said
Richard.
Rich. Oh, okay.
Hi. Hello, myself. All right, the video is recording. The audio will begin in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Jeremiah Show, Dr. D. This is a special day. We don't normally do a show today this is Friday. I'm going to give
Right.
out the date here.
Okay,
I'm
fine.
going to ruin the evergreenness
Ruin
of
the
this
effect.
show. Yeah. But yeah, I really appreciate it. We're doing a show today on a hot day in Santa Barbara. I know most of the country is under snowstorms and coldness, and I'm happy to be here in nice warm Santa Barbara. Guest today, though, the reason we're doing a special show, it's a special guest. And we were talking just a moment ago about the show over the years. We've featured so many indie music artists. So many people have premiered their music for the first time on radio on this show. We've brought to the listeners some of the very biggest names in the music industry, such as the one we have on today. So today is really a peek behind the music industry curtain. We're pulling back that curtain and getting to know all about licensing and sync and what that means.
Yeah. I need to ask your guest to get his finger out of my eye. If
Well,
you watch
I
it
hear
on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen, you understand. But those
I'm so sorry about
Did it-
that.
did
My
it poke you
camera
in the-
slipped.
Poke
it
me
poke you in the eye.
And now I'm going to have to do everything by feel for the next. No. And I may be able to ask only a couple of questions.
Well, we got a lot of them.
Because
I've got a lot.
I
You
am
got a lot.
Songwriter. I've only written one.
It counts, Dr. D.
But it's going to be a big hit.
Yeah, we're going to premiere
Who do
that.
we have
One of
on
these
the
days,
show?
you're going to let me premiere that on the show here.
So,
So-
soon.
You want to get to who we have on the
I
show,
do,
because I'm
I do.
teasing everybody out there. If you are an artist that has music that needs to be published, or that you're breaking into the business and you really want to understand the inner workings and what you need to do. It's confusing. It's hard to navigate. We have on the show today, that I've been teasing, Ritch Esra. He is the founder since 1992. Ritch Esra has been running the Music Business Registry. I don't know if he's a founder. I'll have to clarify that, but I know he's been running the Music Business Registry, which includes the A&R Registry, the Publisher Registry, the Music Business Attorney Registry, the Artist Managers Registry, and the Film and Television Music Guide. That's a lot of work there. There's a lot that goes into this, as you can imagine. So if you just want to know about the music industry and how it works, inner workings on registering songs and music and how people get paid, great show to listen to. If you're breaking into the business or already in the business and need some great tips, we've got the man on the show today who can help you out. Welcome to the show, Ritch Esra. So nice to have you today.
So nice to be here, Jeremiah. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. I mean, I'm really looking forward to this conversation. It's so much to kind of unravel here, what you do and how to make sense of it all. So I thought I'd start with, just a simple question, kind of break down, if you could, you register music, film, television, music publishers, attorneys. How does that, can you explain how that works? So
Sure.
Each one of
let
those
me just clarify.
areas.
I don't register music. I don't register songs. I'm not a copyright or a registration or a publisher. What I do is I publish contact information for all those fields. If you need the contact information for all of the record label and their A&R people, for all the music publishers and their creative staff, for all the music attorneys and their creative staffs, for all the music supervisors, music editors, anything to do with placing music into film or television or video games or any other kind of visual media, we have all of the contact information for you for those worlds, as well as music attorneys as well. That's what we publish at the Music Business Registry.
We'll see, it's even confusing for me. But that's very simple, and that's such a big undertaking and such a big industry, all those industries that you cover.
Right. The question is, does he have contact information for the Songwriter Registry?
Actually, I'm asked that a lot, and the answer is no. I mean, there's millions of songwriters out there. If you want to reach, famous songwriters, you can reach them via their publishers. The Warner Chappells, the Sony Musics, the Universals. You just go onto their websites and you'll see who those writers are. They usually list their songwriters on their sites, and you can reach songwriters that way. A lot of people tell me that one of the better ways to reach songwriters today, if you don't have direct contact with them, is through social media, through their LinkedIn account, through their Instagram account, through their Facebook account, through their Twitter account. And many people have told me they've had success in reaching professional songwriters or record producers that way. But those are just some of the ways that, songwriters can be reached.
Well, what can a music publishing firm provide for the artist and the songwriter? Can you?
Well, I think today a music publisher, what they can provide is they can provide access. They can provide access to you, the songwriter, to get your material heard, to get collaborations, to get you in the door. Music publishing today is a little different than it was in the past. As are record companies, the music business, especially in publishing and in A&R record labels, used to be, Jeremiah, much more faith-based. They would find a talent that they truly believed in. A Clive Davis, an Ahmet Ertegun, Berry Gordy, they would find talent that they truly believed in, and they had faith in their own judgment that the world would also love this talent. And that was the way that publishing and A&R and songwriters, got deals, was based on the faith of their talent. Now, the world is changed. And now the companies basically are saying to songwriters and to artists, prove to us that you have the talent or the audience for us to sign you. So the way it works for a publisher, for a songwriter, is they very seldom sign people strictly on the basis of just talent. Like, oh my God, Jeremiah, you are so talented of a writer, we have to have you at the publishing company. Now it's, Jeremiah, go out there and get yourself a cut. Go get a song cut on a record. And if that record begins to generate interest, or that record begins to be a hit record, then we'll have interest in signing you. Then we'll get you in the door. So in other words, the criteria for what the songwriter needs to do today is much, much higher. Same with the artist. Artists and songwriters just used to be people who were great talents, great singers, great writers. And there was a whole infrastructure in the music business to support them. And that infrastructure is completely gone now. It doesn't exist anymore. There are no infrastructures to support talent. Now you have to look at the music business as a 0 to 100. And the music industry basically tells you, you have to bring yourself from like 0 to 40 on your own.
Wow.
And that's the difference today between the past and the present. So what a publisher can do for a writer is basically, once you have basically been in the business a while, gotten some cuts that are generating income, they can then sign you and they can provide you with an income, but mostly they can provide you with relationships to other writers, relationships to other producers, relationships to other people that your songs can get connected to. That's mainly what the publisher can do, is open doors for you.
Can an artist solely live off of publishing?
It's very, very difficult today, because here's why. In the past, let's say you, a songwriter, Jeremiah, you had a song on Whitney Houston's record. Let's just say hypothetically, you had a song on that record.
Sounds like it's already a hit.
Okay, but let's say it wasn't a hit. Let's say it was one of, it was track number 5 on the second side of the album. Okay, it wasn't a hit single. But the big hit single, I Will Always Love You, or How Will I Know, or one of those big hits, ended up making the album sell 27 million copies. Because of that, you would be paid on every single copy that album sold. We don't live in that world anymore. We live in a world where just the song has the streaming. So if you're not the hit writer, there's no real way to make huge money off of album sales, because nobody sells albums anymore. I mean, nobody, when I say that, maybe Adele sells records, certainly not as many as she once did, Taylor Swift, but the majority of the artists out there, even the big ones, they'll have hit records, but there's nothing to sell. Remember back in the day when Michael Jackson had Thriller and Bad and all of those big hits off of those, every hit that he had off of those records generated higher sales for the album. More hits, Billie Jean, Beat It. The more hits that were on the album, the more albums that were sold. That whole model is gone. We don't live in an era anymore where we sell anything. We used to sell a vinyl album or a cassette tape or a CD. We don't sell anything anymore. Music is free. So what we do now is, the model is, we sell everything around the artist, around the music. We sell the live show. We sell the merch. We sell the endorsements. We sell the soundtrack. We sell the image or the likeness. So the criteria is totally changed, because there's no economic model to have massive success with album sales anymore. So to answer your question, it's kind of a long-winded way of answering your question, but the answer is, unless you write hit songs that get tens of millions of streams, there really isn't a way to make a consistent living unless you can find somebody out there, who's going to consistently record your songs. That's the only way to make money.
Well, that's a great answer, and that really actually was helpful for me. I don't have a single on Whitney Houston's album, unfortunately, but I wanted to use, if we could, Ritch, a new artist that we came across and we've featured here on the show, just because she's new and she put out her first new album. We really like her. Her name is Kylie Spark, and so I thought we could use almost her as an example of someone that's really new to the industry, and how do I navigate that? Almost use her as her case and her newness to the business to navigate through some of the tips that you're providing here for us. And of course, registering her music with musicregistry.com.
Well, she wouldn't necessarily register her music with me, but here's what I would advise if you're trying to help an artist, a new artist. And this is for all artists, the most valuable commodity in the market today, the hardest thing to get, and that's why it's so valuable, is not money or size or power or market share. It's the ability to get someone's attention. That's the most valuable commodity of all, whether it's Kylie or Walt Disney trying to market their new film. And the reason it's so valuable is because it truly is the hardest thing to get from people today. We have 100 million choices.
Right.
This isn't the era that we all grew up in, which had 3 television networks and 1 newspaper and a few magazines. We live in a world of infinite choice. So the most valuable thing is attention. So what I would say to Kylie is her most valuable commodity is to build her connection with her audience. That means having a strong website, having an ability to connect with an audience. She needs to learn who is her audience. Are they young? Are they old? Are they men? Are they women? Where are they? And there are analytics that can give her that information today. What she needs to do is to build a following. That's the most important thing. We no longer live in an era where somebody's going to say, oh, Kylie, you are so great. We're going to make this happen at Sony. What the Sonys and the Universals will do, they will amplify what Kylie has done already. So Kylie has to take herself to like 40, metaphorically speaking, and they can amplify the rest. So what I would advise for Kylie is she needs to get her music out there. She needs to get it on blogs. She needs to get her social media up. She needs to develop a relationship with her fan base, meaning lots of content, lots of, perhaps even like maybe an acoustic version of the song, like, in a studio somewhere, not just necessarily the official video, but an acoustic version, maybe even a remix of the song. There needs to be a constant communication with her audience. And the reason for that is, Jeremiah, she needs to learn who her audience is. This is one of the most misunderstood aspects of that artists, I think, face. They have no idea who their audience is. You ask a lot of artists and they're like, I don't know. Well, they need to know. In the world that we live in today, with so much out there, they need to know. They need to know, who am I marketing my music to? I'm not just going up to the home plate in a baseball metaphor and hoping to hit a grand slam out of the park. That's fantasy. And that happens once in a generation, like an Adele or a Guns N' Roses or something like that. But you can't build a career on that necessarily. So what she needs to do is she needs to build a relationship with her audience and constantly be coming with new songs. And when I say constantly, I don't mean every day. I mean like every maybe 7-8 weeks, a new song. I don't think that the album format is something that brand new artists need to worry about today. And I say that not as that albums are over, but I don't think that albums, in terms of a body of work, are necessarily the thing that nobody cares unless they're a fan of yours. Those are the only people that will listen to an album. And even then, it's still a hard ask. So if you have a fan base, then yes, definitely do an album. But when you're starting out, song after song after song, maybe an acoustic version of that song, a video, something that just constantly gives the audience something to connect with. Well, that would be my advice for her.
Yeah, that's what I hated about radio when I was a kid growing up in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, was they would play the same song over and over and over again. And it's like, what else has this person done? So I stopped listening actively, and I started buying the albums of the artist. And I liked the other stuff on the album. Why aren't they playing this too? Mm-hmm. Well, that's what I like about this, the way things are today.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
And I love that tip that you gave, every 6 weeks release something new. And you're right. I do see with the artists that come on, they put one song up on, let's say, Spotify, and then in a month they put up another song, and they just it's a slow release. It actually makes you anticipate and want to follow or hear that artist more, and when something new comes out. So I love that tip, Rich. That's really great.
Exactly. I think that today the difference is that today, like what you were saying, Richard, we don't live in a world of radio where we have limited choice, we have limited outlets, and we only have to listen to what the radio station is giving us. Streaming is the most viable way of hearing music, and that is an on-demand product. You determine what you're going to listen to. You don't just put on Spotify and say, play me whatever. You determine. And that's a different kind of thing. That's the pull as opposed to the push. Radio was a push. It pushed onto you, like sitting and watching television, we used to sit in front of the MTV and say, I hope they play my favorite video. I mean, the concept of that today is just, it's absurd. That. No one would do that. They would go to their computer.
Wait.
Right. And now we go and it's all on demand. Everything is on demand. Even massive television shows are on demand. We go to Netflix, we see all 15 episodes of whatever the show is. We don't wait week after week after week. We binge watch, and Netflix invented that model. And I think it's the same thing with music. You have to have a consistent relationship with your audience. That's what's going to make the relationship of an artist build, is that consistent relationship, one song after another. And it takes time to do it.
Roxy Seaman, to Kylie, she recommended that she work with her publishing and work on her publishing in sync. And that word was new to me, music synchronization and the new world of sync. Could you explain what sync is, Rich, and then the new world that the artist is facing there with music synchronization?
Sure. Synchronization is a term in the music business that refers to the synchronization, putting together the synchronization of music with a visual image. That's what that term refers to. When somebody says sync, it means they want to put a song with a TV show, or on a TV show, or at the end of a movie, or at the beginning of a movie, or in the scene of a bar. It means putting music with visual content. Roxy was recommending that perhaps, Kylie start thinking of sync. There's a couple things I would say to that. It's a great idea, but she has to know her own music really, really well. Kylie has to know her songs really, really well. The tone, the lyrical content, the sensibility that's being projected in that song. And then she has to find vehicles. What TV shows would be right for that song? You cannot just take songs and say, here, Jeremiah, here's my song. Can you find a place for it in your world? Sync doesn't work that way. And too many people think it does, and it doesn't. So the thing about sync is that you have to really know what you're pitching for. So it means that she has to do a little research. She has to research perhaps some of the TV shows that are out there that would be right for her songs. What shows use music? What shows use music that is in that kind of a vein? And you do have to listen to the shows and watch them for a little bit to know, is my style of music the right thing? Could my song work in this show? And then it's about, getting the relationship with the supervisor, having something to contribute rather than just reaching out and saying, here, listen to my song. It's right for your show.
How are advertisers realigning their approaches right now with sync and music and artist?
In very, very different ways. I think the world of advertising is a fascinating one because it's moving beyond the traditional forms. It's moving beyond just the commercial on television or just the ad on radio. Those are still big, but now we're seeing other forms. We're seeing things in the movie theater. We're seeing product placement for advertising. We're seeing ads and commercials, big ones from big companies that are being done just online. So the whole concept of a brand producing a commercial and syncing songs, it's very important. And it's very important, I think, for songwriters to be able to follow that world. That's a different world than film and television, the world of advertising. It also pays a lot more money than syncing for television or for film. And the advantage to getting songs into commercials is that you got to realize when your song gets into a commercial, there's usually a 25 or 35 or 55 or $85 million television, radio, or something campaign behind it. So, that's why. And you can look at, different forms of media and say, wow, how interesting that this, I learned about this song from this commercial. Or isn't it interesting how, and I don't necessarily mean when you listen to an ad and you hear a classic song. That's great for the classic artist, but I'm talking about the willingness of brands to use unknown songs that fit the vibe of what they're trying to do. And advertisers today, brands today, are much, much more open to doing that than they were 10, 15 years ago. 10, 15 years ago, when you listen to ads, a lot of the ads, and you remember, they were pretty much very familiar. The songs were classics. They were familiar to you. They were that kind of approach where we want everybody from you and to your grandmother to know the song. So it would be a Motown classic or a Marvin Gaye classic or something that everybody knew. Mm-hmm. Not so much today. Today, we have a lot more opportunities. So that's the advantage with, I think, advertising, is that they're willing to take more risks, but it's a lot harder to get those slots, a lot harder. And the reason it's a lot harder is because there's many, many more decision makers in the world of advertising than there are in film and TV.
It's interesting. You mentioned that the advertisers are more open to accepting new music, new artists. And this is a great model. I think you're recommending for the artist that understands their music and can get out there and sync. There's an artist that's been on since her very beginning, Flavia, and I see her on commercial after commercial now, and 3 or 4 at a time for different brands, and with her music and with her acting in the commercial. That's very interesting to see how she's worked her way into it sounds like she's perfecting this world of sync.
Well, I would say, that situation and circumstance you're describing, that's very unusual. Yeah. Where an artist's music is also allowed to act in the commercial, that's in the rare stratosphere.
She's an actress as well, so that
but that she gets her music used as well as acts in it, good for her. You probably know that's very unusual. You don't see a lot of that.
That's why I mentioned it, because I just saw a new commercial that I hadn't seen last night, and I thought, wow, she really does work all angles and all sides of the business, and was very happy for her. We got about 1 minute to break, maybe even less, and hopefully you can answer this question. If not, we'll take it on the other side.
Okay.
How is this impacting the music business registry?
It's impacting it a lot. People want that contact information because the way people make money in the music business has shifted greatly to sync. Publishing companies, record labels, managers, a lot of these entities have added sync people, meaning they've hired employees strictly to go after placements of film and TV, because the income has shifted from record sales and money from that to sync. You make a lot more money with sync than you do on sales. So there's been a reorientation of priorities in the music business. So people want our information much more so today.
Great. Ritch Esra, he is Music Business Registry. You can, let me give you a little information how to find out more. Stay current, stay relevant, get licensed or signed. They've been providing for decades now, 30 years. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Continually published the most up-to-date contact information directories available for music business professionals, and those serving the industry. Our titles at Music Registry Business include the Film and Television Music Guide. Can I stop for a second? I blew that. Can I do that again?
Yeah.
Can you erase all this and let me do it again? A little bit cleaner.
Sure.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Stay current, stay relevant. get licensed or signed for more than 3 decades. And congratulations, Rich, for more than 30 years now. We have continually published the most up-to-date contact information directories available for music business professionals and those serving the industry. Their titles include Film and Television, Music Guide, A&R Registry, Music Publishers, and Music Business Attorneys. MusicRegistry.com. There's no directory of this kind anywhere in the world. Check it out again. It's MusicRegistry.com. Our special guest today is Ritch Esra. And we're going to take you, we've been talking about Kylie Spark. We're going to take you to break with her single, Universe, at your fingertips. We'll be right back. I don't do shows on Friday. I've got marble mouth.
Oh, no problem.
Rich, what's your exact title there at the Music Registry business?
Publisher.
Publisher, okay.
Founder, yeah, publisher.
That would have been good for me to ask earlier, huh?
Oh, okay.
Did you found the Music Registry?
I did. I founded it in 1992, and I started with one directory. I started with the A&R Registry because that's the.
I want you to tell this story when we come back. So I don't want to make you do it twice because I want to get a little. We started with all these great information, and I want to keep going with that. But I want to back up now at the second break and then ask you a little bit about how you founded it and what you've got such a great career here.
Oh, well, thank you.
Okay. Well,
Ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to the Jeremiah Show. Ritch Esra, publisher, Music Registry business. He's here with us today, and boy, I don't know so much more than I think. We've done 437 shows now,
Yeah.
and I just really learned a lot in that first segment. If you're just tuning in on radio, you can check it out on the podcast and go back. I'd definitely listen to this one. There's some great information that Ritch gives us here. I wanted to. Ritch has such a great long career. Let's just talk about it a little bit. I'm going to let Ritch tell his own story, but to tease you, he was the director of the West Coast A&R for Arista Records. I remember that logo so well. I bought so many albums from Arista. I hope I'm saying it right. I never had to pronounce it out loud. He signed the Thompson Twins deal. Again, here I'm dating myself, but 7th grade Thompson Twins. I remember K-Rock. I would listen to the Thompson Twins, and the radio when I'd go to bed. I really remember heavy play with Thompson Twins. He signed him to their U.S. deal. He worked extensively with the publishing and songwriting communities for material for Whitney Houston, Aretha Franklin, Dionne Warwick, Melissa Manchester, Tanya Tucker, Jennifer Warnes, and Jermaine Jackson, just to name a few. Also coordinated Dr. D the music for the Ghostbusters.
Oh, wow.
And I wonder, Ritch, did you have anything to do with the new Ghostbusters?
No, just the original soundtrack was something that we had gotten. And I remember that project, it was very, very rushed. There had been a soundtrack in place already, and Columbia Pictures at that time in the 80s was not happy with it. And so we came up with, a lot of material very quickly, and it had to be edited and done and put in. And Ray Parker, who was one of our artists, came up with the title track for Ghostbusters. So, I just remember that was we had to, I think, get most of that work done. Neil Portnow was involved with that because he was the chief executive on the West Coast of Arista. And it was 1984, I believe. And it was a very, very rushed project. Normally on soundtracks, you have a lot more time, but that one we had about 3 weeks all in.
How did you start the Music Business Registry? Take us back to the early beginnings.
Well, I had come from an A&R background in my own career. From 1980 to 86, I had worked in promotion. I'd worked in A&R at Arista. And then I left and I started teaching courses on the music business at various schools, at UCLA and at Trebas Institute. And I got the idea because I used to get this newsletter called the A&R Report or A&R Newsletter. And it used to be like this little pamphlet that would have the major labels listed. And I used to call up the guy who published it and say, Bob here, you have him at this company, but he went over to Elektra. And Jim, you have him at Warner Brothers, but he went over to Columbia. And I would help him out. I would help get him so that the next one would be more accurate. And I did this for like 5 or 6 months. And then suddenly I remember the idea hit me. Wait a minute, I could do this a lot better. And I remember thinking that I could do this a lot better. And I took about 9 months to put my first model together of all of the record company A&R people. And I would include not only the A&R people, but their title, but I would also include their assistant, which weren't ever included in other directories. But the main thing that I thought of is that in that particular time, this was in 1992, my vision was you have to build in obsolescence. Most of the directories at that time, they were yearlies. So they were researched in September, October, they were printed up in November, December, and then sold to you in January as that year's edition.
Right.
By the time you got it, it was 25 to 35% out of date, and it got worse as the year went on. So what I did is I built in obsolescence. I made it so that I would do a brand new one every 8 weeks, and I would update it. So any changes that happened, people moving, people getting hired, people getting fired, people getting promoted, I would have in the brand new edition. So when you subscribe, you would always have the latest info. You wouldn't have, the 18 changes that you had to like remember or mark up in your, on the sidelines or anything like that. So that was how I started it. And I only started with A&R, Jeremiah, because that was the world I came from. And then from there, I went into film and TV, then music publishers, then music attorneys, and then managers. So it was just a progression.
What an undertaking. How incredible. What a business you've built. What are some of the milestones and some of the highlights? And now you've reached, 30 years. Again, congratulations. Where you've really seen the music business totally evolve and been
completely. I think that the major change for me, one of the most profound changes, and I think for the business, was when we went from a copy model where we sold CDs and cassettes and vinyl albums to an access model, which is where we are today, where we no longer had a product to sell, but we were selling access. And that's what streaming was really all about. Even when we did digital files on iTunes, it was still about buying a product. And when we abandoned that, it radically changed the music industry. And I remember that was a major highlight for us because it transformed how we were going to make money, but it also transformed the value system. There's something that's very interesting. They say with any revolution, when you have a revolution, which is a radical upheaval of the established order, 2 things happen. One is the most common that everybody talks about, which is that you have a change of habits. You have a different way of doing things. But the second one is what people never talk about, and it's more profound, which is that you have a change in values. And what I saw happen when you ask about the significant changes is that we had a change in values around the kind of talent that we were going to buy into and not buy into. And it changed because music became free. Music became something that I just, look up on my thing and I listen to whatever I want, whenever I want, however I want, on any number of devices that I want, on any number of platforms, wherever I am in the world, and I do it for free. That was a game changer. And we're still living with the consequences of that evolving system. So that's one of the main highlights for me in the music business.
Ritch Esra. He's our special guest this hour. It's a fascinating conversation. He's the founder and publisher of the Music Business Registry, which also includes the A&R Registry, the Publisher Registry, Music Business Attorney Registry, Artist Management Registry, and the Film and Television Music Guide. He also, I think, Ritch, you still teach classes at UCLA, and is that
not at UCLA, but I teach at Musicians Institute.
Musicians Institute. We will be right back with more from Ritch Esra, publisher of the Music Registry Business. Stay current, stay relevant, get licensed or signed. For more than 3 decades, the Music Business Registry has continuously published the most up-to-date contact information, directories available for the music business professionals and film and television and those serving the industry. musicregistry.com.
Okay. Okay.
Great.
That's what-
How you doing, Rich? You know,
Doing good.
you look like Bob De Niro.
Oh.
Have you ever heard that
Oh.
before?
I have. It's funny.
It's a
When I-
compliment, by the way.
Right. When I was younger, people would tell me that, but I haven't been told it in a long time.
I
so
was trying to
thank you.
figure it out. I'm like, you really look like somebody.
Oh.
I bet people when they see the YouTube interview see you and think I'm interviewing Bob De Niro
Bob De Niro. Yes.
before they read anything about it.
That's right.
Yes, I'm ready.
All right, here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to the Jeremiah Show. Really enjoying our conversation with our special guest today, Ritch Esra. He is the publisher and he's the founder since 1992 for 30 years, the Music Business Registry. And so good to have you here, Rich. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about, if you wouldn't mind, like questions. You're so well versed. You know this material. You know this business better than anybody. I would argue here. I've learned so much from you already. If you're a new artist like our featured artist this episode, Kylie Spark, what would you ask? What are some of the questions that you should ask your publisher about an agreement or in general?
Well, if you're talking about a publisher, that's specifically regarding the songs, the melodies and the lyrics, and that's something different than a record label. I would ask them, if you're in the position to get a publishing deal, how long is the deal? In other words, term. What's the term of this deal? Is it 1 year? Is it 7 years? In California, you can only sign someone to a publishing deal for maximum 7 years. The next thing I would ask is, how much product, meaning how many songs am I obligated in this agreement to give you? Okay, when you're signed by a major publisher, there's a clause in there that tells I need so many, wholly written songs. So if you co-write it, then that number doubles. How many songs am I required to give you per year? You should know that. That's a big question you want to ask your publisher. What's my obligation to you in terms of the quantity of songs that I have to give you? And then, you also want to ask about, recoupment. How much money am I going to get for signing, so that you have an understanding of how much you're going to be receiving, and how is that to be paid back? Is it to be paid back on publishing? Is it to be paid back on what's your deal? Are you doing a co-publishing deal? Meaning that the pie of a publishing is half of it is publishing, half of it is songwriting. When you make a publishing deal, how much of your publishing part of the pie are you selling? 50%, 75%, 100%, and you're keeping the writer's share? The other thing that you want to make sure that you have in the contract is something called reversion. That means that the songs will revert back to you that you're signing the agreement for at a certain point in time. Copyright law states that in 35 years from the time that the contract is written, if you apply at the 33rd year to get them back, that process can begin. And then, a lot of like Paul McCartney and Yoko Ono have done this on behalf of John Lennon to get those songs back from Sony Music Publishing, who owns the Beatles publishing. All songwriters have. So those would be the main questions I would be asking my publisher if I was in a position as a writer, as a songwriter, to work with a publisher.
I think I know the answer to this next question, but I'm sure that you will, as you are, add a lot to it, to the what I'm thinking is the answer here. How would the artist or the songwriter connect with a music publisher? And what's the best way that they can stand out when they do so?
Well, the best way, well, and most writers don't like this answer. The best way is to get your songs recorded by an artist and have them out in the market. That's the best way to attract a publisher. If you do that, and trust me, that's not easy. It's not easy to get access to an artist and to get your song with that artist and to get them to record it on a commercially released record. So that's the best way to connect with a publisher, because a publisher then will reach out to you. I think just sending songs into a publisher, I think that era is over. We had spoken about that a little while ago, where the idea of a faith-based signing, where somebody sees you and says, wow, Jeremiah, you are such an incredible writer. That used to happen. I mean, I knew publishers that would find writers that they truly believed in, and that they would sign who had no track record. But in those days, it would take 2-3 years of them writing and working and getting on this one's record and this before they succeeded. And the publisher, of course, was obligated to give them a certain financial commitment every year before that happened. So most publishers that I know of will not under any circumstances do that today. So, you have to find, I would say to a writer, find as many artists as you can to write with. Meaning, unlike other songwriters who are in your position, artists are in the position of making albums or making records to put out and commercially release. You want to get as many outlets of your songs as possible. The other thing is sync. If you have songs that are generating income, that's really the bottom line, Jeremiah, to the whole question is getting as many opportunities for your songs, whether they be recordings by artists or getting used in a commercial or a movie or a television show or some other, a video game, something where they're generating income, that will attract a publisher to you.
Okay, we've got to take another break, Rich. This is our last break.
Okay.
As we go to break, though, if you could answer this for me, following that same line of thought there and questioning, what is the most profitable revenue resource or source for artists and songwriters these days, now in the new music business era?
It's sync, because that money is immediate. There's what's called the sync fee, where you get that up front. And then on the back end, you get, if it plays on television, you get your ASCAP and BMI money, whatever organization you're signed with. Within sync, there are certain hierarchies. We talked about film, we talked about TV, we talked about commercials, we talked about one that we haven't talked about is trailers, which is the advertisement for the movie or the TV show. Those also pay very well. Now, what's interesting is that trailers and commercials pay the highest amount of money to songwriters. Getting your song used in a trailer, it's again a very, very tall order and it's very difficult. But it's not the same people who make the decisions as the music supervisors who put your music into film and TV, because the money for trailers comes from the marketing budget. Meaning once the film is done, shot, and it's turned over to the marketing people to get out there, they make the decision. They make the decision as to what songs we're going to use to market this movie. Like when you see a trailer and it has this song in it, they make that decision and they pay a lot more. The rate of money that you'd make is a lot more, and in advertisement. So those two elements are the biggest money makers for songwriters.
Great advice. Stay current, stay relevant, get licensed or signed. For over 30 years, 3 decades, the Music Business Registry has continually published the most up-to-date contact information, directories available for music business professionals, film and television, and those serving the industry. Go to musicregistry.com. Our special guest today is Ritch Esra. He's the publisher and founder of Music Business Registry. We'll be right back.
Okay. Whoa. Where did it?
Don't say whoa. Give me a heart attack.
Let's see here. 1, 2, 3.
Rich, just a couple more minutes. Is that good with you?
It's fine. Whatever you need.
Great. This is so fascinating, honestly.
Well, thank you.
Love it.
So is it really warm up in Santa Barbara?
It's like 85 today.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I'm wearing a
Wow.
coat, but I'm in the studio here.
Yeah, it's very warm here, and Santa Barbara is right on the water.
Yeah.
So you can imagine inland, it must be even warmer.
Yeah, I live up on the mesa in Santa Barbara, and it's always like 10 degrees cooler right up above and on the beach there. The station here is what, 15 blocks or so from the beach, and my office is about 2. Yeah, it's nice.
Exactly. Yeah, I love Santa
Yeah, it does
Barbara.
get warmer in inland, San Ynez up in the
Oh
wine
yeah,
country. Yeah.
It gets
I love Santa Barbara. I there's that club, the Soho Club.
Uh-huh.
I would come to shows up there. It's a lot. That's a great place to see people.
okay.
Yeah.
This is our
Well,
last
we
segment.
got to have a drink or coffee or see a show or something when you come up next, Rich.
Absolutely, I would love to. I'll definitely let you know when I come up next.
Okay.
I was going to come up in December, but the show at the Soho, they canceled all those shows from the 20th on because of COVID. So
Well, I did want to bring that up here at the end, if we could.
sure.
All right, here we go. Final segment in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to the Jeremiah Show. We have Ritch Esra. He is the founder and the publisher of the Music Business Registry. If you're just tuning in, you got to go back and check this out on the podcast. It's been a really neat and really informative conversation. I'm just a fan of music, so I hope my questions haven't been too simple for you, Rich, but
No, not at all.
I think from that perspective, there's a lot of people that don't understand the inner workings and the behind the scenes, and I think you've put it out there really clearly for everyone today. We've talked about sync and that being really the most profitable for these new young songwriters now, or even songwriters in general. The COVID-19 seems like it works its way into every conversation, and I hate to do that, but the music industry is so diverse and complex with its own ecosystem. Every corner of the music business has been affected by the pandemic. In relation to sync, Rich, how has it affected sync? How has it affected your publishing?
Well, interestingly enough, at the very beginning of COVID in 2020, from March to like June, when everything shut down, all production shut down, with the exception of advertising. Some advertising could be done because the people could do the ads, like, the post-production person could do it in their home. They had the equipment and they could get the job finished. They didn't need to be in a studio with 15 other people. That kind of work, when you needed to be with 15 other people, that literally came to a halt. All of that. So recording sessions, recording studios, bodies of people coming in and having to work together, that all stopped. So my business was very slow for like the first 3 or 4 months, but then it started to pick up because the placement of music and the production in terms of post-production and getting music back in continued during COVID. There was a lot of stuff in the pipeline that needed music. And so a lot of stuff was being put in to television shows, to movies. The thing is, what most people don't realize is there's an enormous backlog of not only television shows, but of films that are just now starting to come out that are like literally 2 years old.
Wow.
West Side Story was one that was like a year and a half delayed. The new film that's opening up today, the Death on the Nile, the Agatha Christie mystery, that Kenneth Branagh, that all-star cast, that was ready 2 years ago. So there's a whole plethora of movies that are coming out now, volumes of shows and things. So it did affect the industry. However, one of the things that we saw in subsequent, as time went on, we saw that streaming as a whole, streaming went way, way up because people were trapped in their homes, both in watching of television, but also in listening to Spotify, Apple, Deezer. The streaming services went way up. So there was a lot more listening, and subsequently songwriters and so forth on the streaming side made a lot more money during COVID. Where it really hurt badly was in the touring, very, very badly. And even now, people had tours, but then they got canceled. And then the people that actually go ahead and do the performance anyway, they're finding on the opposite side, people aren't showing up. Concert attendance for people who have tickets for these shows are finding anywhere from 10 to 40% non-attendance.
Wow.
So that's a problem too, where, you know, you've delayed the show, you put the tickets off, come back a year from now, people are coming back, but not as many as they had hoped. And even the shows that are still going ahead, there's a hesitancy to actually show up for a lot of things. You know, it's rare that you see complete and utter sellouts. Now, for example, like Sunday, the Super Bowl, that's going to be completely sold out. That's like a rare example. But, you know, other than that, try to find, you know, events, music events where everybody's willing to show up today. It's, and also it depends where you are in the country in
And
terms
the
of that
Ritch
willingness.
Esra crystal ball, when do you think that might come back, that part of the business?
You know, I pray that it comes back toward the end of this year, you know, in the fall, you know, as if we don't have another variant that just goes crazy like it did last winter. I thought we were doing the same thing. We were getting better and better and better and better. And then suddenly this thing Omicron came and just went ballistic. So my feeling is hopefully we will get better toward the end of this year, toward like September, October, where it'll get, you know, back to normal, where people will feel safe and comfortable again. I pray that that's the case.
You've seen the music business, you've been a part of the music business your entire life pretty much. And what is the silver lining? What do you like? What has happened, you know, through all the different changes that you've witnessed in the business? God, I don't know if there's any business that's changed as much, the models, and as the music business. What do you like though? You seem like a guy that finds and sees opportunity and makes the most out of anything you're handed in life. Ritch, what do you like out of this? What's the silver lining?
I would say that the silver lining in the big sense for artists, for songwriters, is that we're in the midst of a 20-year revolution that's continuing. So the silver lining that I see is that the songwriter, the artist today has more power than in any other time in the history of the music business. It's no longer where, you know, please, Mr. Major Label, give me a chance. We don't live in that world anymore. But now the artist has to do a lot more work to build that audience and to connect with that audience. That's the silver lining. They have more power, but they have to do a lot more work. So the silver lining is what comes with it. It's like, you want a job for life? You got it, but you got to be educated for life too. It's not just going to be like, oh, I'm going to work for the factory for 40 years and get my watch at the end of, you know, my 40-year career. You can have the career, but you have to be willing and committed to learning about this business. And you know what, truthfully, Jeremiah, it's never been easier. All that information comes to you. You don't even have to leave your house, but you do have to learn. No one's going to do it for you. You know, major labels are not developers of talent anymore. They're amplifiers of talent, meaning that the talent has to have the base and they'll amplify it. But getting from that 0 to 40, that's up to the artists today. So that's the silver lining, that artists and writers, they have more power to connect with their audience and more tools to do it than ever before. But they have to be committed to this as a way of life. This isn't like, well, I'll do it for a year, and if that doesn't work out, I'll drive a truck. The music business doesn't operate like that anymore. There's too much music. There's too many artists. There's too many songs. It's, you know, to get people's attention today takes time, and it takes a commitment to it as a way of life. So that's the silver lining, that you have the power to do it, but you got to be committed to it as a way of life.
Great advice. Great advice. The great Ritch Esra, publisher and founder of the Music Business Registry. Ritch, we have to have you back on. There's so much more I want to talk about.
Sure, I'm happy to do it anytime. You
Where
let
can
me know.
people
We'll
find you? I mean, I know you give, you know, what's coming up next for you? Where can people find you? Where can...
Well, they can find us at musicregistry.com. All of our contact info is there. If they want to reach out, I'm available there. They can get a hold of me at the site, musicregistry.com, or contact me directly, Ritch, RITCH, at musicregistry.com. What's coming up next? You know, we have a YouTube channel called Mubu TV, MUBUTV.com. It stands for Music Business Television. And it's a site that basically educates artists. I interview executives from the music business on all kinds of things, publishers, music supervisors, managers, A&R people, about what it takes to have a career in the music industry. So that's coming up for us as well. We've got 93 new episodes that are going to launch this year and 40 podcasts that I've put together. So
wow, now
that's coming up.
I'm not going to listen to those. I just want to have you come on.
I'm happy to come on whenever you'll have me.
I'm just kidding. I will go listen to those, but I still want to have you come back on and tell me personally.
Sure.
I like that. I like the one-on-one with you. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Dr. D, I know you had a lot of questions, and I didn't even let you get one in. Did you want to?
He actually, it's funny how as you moved along on the questions I had, he would answer them.
Oh, perfect.
But I will tell you, Mubu sounds like something strolling across the prairies in the 1800s. A Mubu.
Yes.
It's very well known, though. I know. I've heard it a lot. I've seen it a lot, and it's a great place to go for.
And I'll be honest
all
with
your
you,
questions.
I am glad. As I shared earlier, absolutely ecstatic over the way the music industry is today. There isn't just one person or one company, one record company controlling the output of an artist. Especially on the radio. And I'm hoping that the radio stations, I happen to be a big country fan, are taking note of the fact that unless there's some corporate contracts and those kinds of things, I'm starting to hear different songs as the days and the weeks go on. I'm not hearing the same songs over and over again, even though they do push certain ones. But overall, I'm getting a nice, fresh rotation. Probably every week I hear something brand new, and that's kind of nice.
That's great. That's great. Also, I think the interesting thing, and you're a country fan, is that the audience for country music in the last 15 years has completely shifted. It used to be like primarily people 35 and up. That's the way it was for many years. And now the new generation of country artists has been able to attract a younger crowd for country music, which is very, very exciting. And I think, to your point, that you're able to hear new, fresh things, even on radio every week is very, very exciting. And it bodes well for, the breakthrough of new artists, because, new artists are the lifeblood of any business. That's what keeps any genre moving forward.
Yeah. I'm sure that the people that I listen to, I might be able to remember some of their names. But actually, for me, that's more of a testament to the rotation, that it's not the same old people over and over again doing this. And I actually worked in country radio for about 6 months back in the 80s, the middle 80s. They flipped the format from classical for 6 months to country. They said, we're not making enough money in country. We're going back to classical. It's like 6 months. Try 18. Okay, back then it was 18 months before you would see a turnaround.
Right.
But I fell in love with country music. And of course, they've got me. I'm one of the younger crowds. I'm only 61. Come on.
Exactly. It's and country is very loyal. It's a very, very loyal audience to the artists. And, you see that when artists tour, even the older artists that don't necessarily have hit records today, you see that. So that's that core country community is very, very healthy. I think it's healthier than other genres in that it's constantly, letting new things in, and you're seeing new artists emerge out of it. That was the problem with rock. Rock didn't have a lot of new things coming into it. And ultimately and creatively, it kind of died. It became a very small genre, and it used to dominate.
Yeah. Well, I only have one question for Darius Rucker, and that is, why did he choose to switch to country music? I like what he puts out. Don't get me wrong, but I like Hootie and the Blowfish.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was they had some great music.
We have a connection to him, so we'll get him on. You can ask him that question.
I want to ask him. I'm glad he did. Okay. Again, don't get me wrong. I like.
You should be listening to Only Palmer Anthony, our good friend from the show. Palmer Anthony. I'm going to give him a little plug too. Just released a few new songs on Spotify. He's really great. Anyway, thanks so much. Great questions, Dr. D. Great answers, Ritch.
Thank you,
Esra. And if we are going to premiere, we're playing 2 songs of Kylie's during this show, so we're going to give you the the world premiere of Sparkle and Shine, at least on the Jeremiah Show by Kylie Spark. Check her out, KylieSparkmusic.com. And before I let you go, if you could hang on one second, Rich, I wanted to add and let everybody know that this week we were added on 3 new radio stations. So you can get the Jeremiah Show in Somerset, England. I want to say hello to everybody out there. And we were airing all week long, so hopefully they're a little familiar with us. Hello, it's so nice to be in your area. We're also in Los Angeles on Radio Candy. RadioCandyRadio.com.
Yeah.
And the Radio Indie Alliance, I'm not sure if you've heard of this or not out there in the world of indie music. The Radio Indie Alliance is a chart service that allows indie recording artists an opportunity to have chart placements. They don't charge you, they support you. It's radioindiealliance.com, and I was asked to submit every Friday my top 10 songs for the week to Radio Indie Alliance. So you can look now for Dr. D and I will put these lists together and we'll put those out there, our favorite songs and artists of the week on Radio Indie Alliance. On Radio Candy Radio, you can discover a world of emotions at your digital radio. 10 p.m. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, the Jeremiah Show airs. Again, that's 10 p.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, RadioCandyRadio.com. We can't wait to tell your story to all of our new listeners in LA and Somerset. And if you want to be on the show, you want to have your music played on the show, please send it to me, Jeremiah at thejeremiahshow.com. We're also on Core Radio. That's at 10 p.m. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday now on coreradio.rocks. Wanted to thank the Platt family. These guys are an industry of their own, within their own. Mark Platt, Justin Platt, and Jonathan Platt for all your support helping get the radio show to these platforms, and all of the faithful listeners in our TGS army of listeners. Next week on the Sports Lounge that I executive produce with Big Lou, the Sports Lounge with Big Lou. It's we've got Jeremy Platt. He's the founder of Between the Tackless. I'm Tackless. He is the founder of Between the Tackles podcast and website. We're going to talk about Super Bowl. He's also the youngest reporter in AAF and XFL history. This will be fascinating. That's on the Sports Lounge with Big Lou. Ritch Esra, founder, publisher. Once again, the Music Registry Business.com. Check it out. Subscribe. Thank you, Ritch.
Thank you so much for having me.
Communicate, listen more, and evolve. Have a great week, everybody.
Okay, we're clear.
Hey, Ritch. Great.
Yes.
I hope you liked that interview.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, I hope I honored you, my friend.
Yes.
Can we get you to do one last thing for us? What we call
Sure.
a radio drop promo here at the
Okay.
for the Jeremiah Show, but I want to mainly mention your name and promote what you want. Probably your website, musicregistrybusiness.com.
Musicregistry.com.
Musicregistry.com.
Yeah.
So, did I say that incorrectly throughout the show?
No, you said musicregistry.com. I think just the very last one you said Music Business Registry. It's just musicregistry.com. That's okay.
Moo boo, moo boo.
You'll never forget that now, Dr. D.
Nope.
And you need to watch the videos. Okay, so basically, I'm sure you know how to do this, but just your name, musicregistry.com, the Jeremiah Show. But if you'd like to add anything of your own in there, feel free.
Okay, so you want me to just say, this is Ritch Esra with Music Business Registry, and you're listening to The Jeremiah Show?
Yeah, that's what I recommend. But if you want to add anything that you want to promote, but I would, also.
No, you've been very generous. So, I'll be happy to do the promo.
So we'll drop this into future radio shows so that it continues to push people towards you. And I would mention, and only edit there if a note or whatever it would be, that you're the publisher.
Okay. All right. So I'll say, hi, this is Ritch Esra, publisher of the Music Business Registry, and you're listening to The Jeremiah Show. Perfect. Is that the name of it? The Jeremiah Show?
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So whenever you're ready.
All right.
Wonderful to be here in Detroit.
All right, I'll give you a countdown.
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Hey, this is Ritch Esra, publisher of the Music Business Registry, and you're listening to The Jeremiah Show.
Give that man a job in
Perfect.
radio.
Okay.
Thanks, Rich. We'll have this up and I'll send it to you a little bit later.
Please, yeah, let me know. And anytime you want me back, I'm happy to do it.
Oh,
Cool.
love to. Love to.
Cool.
We'll come up with some great topics and have you come in on them.
Absolutely. You got it. You
All
got
right.
it.
Thanks, Rich.
Thank you so much. You
Thank
take
you.
care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Awesome. Awesome sauce.